boxing fans tend to be very reactionary and almost bipolar in the way that they assess fighters. And what I mean by that is, in the minds of most boxing fans, there's only two category of fighters. You've got elite, all-time great, pound for pound, mastermind fighters, and then you've got absolute garbage, hype job fighters who were never any good in the first place. And there's nothing in between. And so they've put Terence Crawford into the first category, and there's loads of them putting Errol Spence into the second category. The reality is there's lots of steps in between. Errol Spence is a fantastic fighter. He's not some hype job and garbage and all this nonsense that some people are coming out with. I mean, I saw a comment from one guy which really made me laugh. He said, Spence has had a hyped up career. He was never that good. The people he beat were over the hill. I always felt that Kell Brook, pre-Golovkin, would have beaten him. The reason that made me laugh so much is because that person wouldn't accept somebody giving the excuse that the car crash contributed to Errol Spence's loss to Terence Crawford because he's never been the same since that car crash in the opinions of some. But yet he accepts this idea that somehow Kell Brook was never the same after the Golovkin fight. Well, I can assure you that Errol Spence suffered much worse physical damage from his car crash than Kell Brook did from the Golovkin fight. So all this talk about, oh, Spence was never good and Kell Brook would have beaten him pre-Golovkin, it's a load of rubbish. Errol Spence went to Kell Brook's backyard where everything was in Kell Brook's favor and he beat him, made him quit, worked his body, wore him down and took him out. The better man won. Errol Spence is just a better fighter than Kell Brook. End of. And the same goes for Errol Spence against Terence Crawford. People are coming out with all these excuses. I'm talking about the Spence fans now, the PBC crowd. They're saying, oh, he was drained and he's not the same fighter he used to be, etc., etc. The reality is he's coming off a fantastic performance against Yordenis Ugas. Yordenis Ugas is no cream puff. He's a very good fighter in his own right. Remember back in the days when he fought Sean Porter and many people felt he got robbed in that fight? Obviously beat Manny Pacquiao. Errol Spence went in there against Ugas, and yeah, there was a couple of shaky moments for him, but apart from that, he beat the brakes off Ugas. That was a great performance. He showed that he was several levels above Ugas, not one level, several levels. I mean, he basically did to Ugas what Crawford did to him. So you go off fighters' most recent performances. Errol Spence is a fantastic fighter. He's not a hype job or any nonsense like that. He was just in there with a special once-in-a-generation type talent in Terence Crawford. That's all it is. There aren't only two categories of fighters: garbage hype jobs who are no good, or elite, real deal, all-time great type fighters. There are lots of steps in between, or categories in between. Let me describe it that way. Just because Errol Spence got destroyed by Terence Crawford, that doesn't erase everything he's done in the past. What it does is it enhances Terence Crawford. I think we all accept that Tommy Hearns was a great fighter, right? What happened to Tommy Hearns when he fought Marvin Hagler? What happened to Tommy Hearns when he fought Iran Barkley? What happened to Tommy Hearns when he fought Sugar Ray Leonard the first time? Do we call him a hype job because he lost those fights? Let's be sensible people. Of course, there's a lot of people out there who have been holding a grudge from years ago because they saw Errol Spence destroy Kell Brook and they've wanted to live off this belief, this excuse. Oh, if Brook had fought him before the Golovkin fight, he would have beaten him. Stop it. Brook had everything laid on for him in that fight. His own crowd, everything his own way. Errol Spence was a fish out of water. Never fought outside the United States prior to that. Certainly not in a fight of that magnitude. Why are you assuming he was at 100% for that fight? There are more than two levels in boxing. There are multiple levels. Terence Crawford just happens to be at that top level. That's all. Anyway, I'll leave it there.